Hey guys, welcome back to the show. I'm Parker Emerald, and this is The Conversation Station. Today we have an amazing guest. We have Mr. Anthony Trucks. Anthony is a highly motivated and inspiring individual who has made a significant impact in the world through his dedication and passion for personal development and leadership. He is a former NFL player turned speaker, coach, and author who has dedicated his life to empowering individuals to reach their full potential. With his engaging personality, infectious energy, and unwavering commitment to helping others, Anthony has made a name for himself as one of the leading voices in the personal development community. Through his books, workshops, and keynote speeches, he has influenced thousands of people around the world to pursue their dreams and become the best version of themselves. Welcome on, Mr. Trucks.
Thank you for having me. Welcome. I'm happy to be here with you.
Yeah. Why don't you just give the audience a bit of a 50,000 foot overview of everything you do and how you're...
Everything I do. Well, I do a lot of things. I don't know if we could get all of it done, but at the core of me, man, I'm a man of God. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I teach people how to do the dark work to make shift happen in their life. So it's all about finding the ways to do the work in the dark so you can shine bright in the light, man. At the core of it, it's about becoming somebody different through the process. And so for me, it's always an identity kind of thing, right? Who are you at the core? And so that came through me battling my own stuff, man, growing up in foster care, being given away, at a really young age and dealing with some craziness there, then being adopted to an all-white family, so navigating my identity in that aspect. And then eventually going into try this thing of football. Wasn't very good, got really good, played the NFL after a lot of years, obviously. And so, man, I'm cutting a lot out. I'm sure we'll dive into it. But at the core of me, man, I'm a guy that beat a lot of odds, dealt with a lot of hardship, and created a really cool life out of it. And I go tell people about that whole life on stage now.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I know when I got introduced to you through Apogee and when you came on, it was just, your journey's been incredible and you're so inspiring, man. I mean, you got me so freaking pumped. But maybe we could just dive into some of that your younger years and how you've sort of built up to who you are today.
Yeah, man. Wherever you want to start with.
Yeah, let's just start there.
You want to just dive in and start sharing?
Yeah, just dive in and start sharing. Let's roll.
Oh, well, you just dive in. So 3 years old, my mom decided she didn't want her kids anymore, so she called social services in California, and my son is making noise. Can you not? Careful, I'm on an episode, son. My son's doing what kids do. He's making noise, having no idea I'm in here. But anyways, so I ended up going through this journey of being given away as a kid in foster care, navigating a whole bunch of ups and downs. And really, I think for me, it was kind of figuring out that the world's not always fair. Things aren't always going to be easy to navigate and deal with. But what you do is you have to find ways to make the most out of it. And so I dealt with the feeling of not feeling like I mattered, not feeling like I was loved because my mom gave me away. And then in the families I was in, the houses that I was in, I dealt with a lot of just turmoil, headaches, craziness. And in that process, man, I first thought life sucked for everybody. I was like, oh, it's the norm. It just happens to people. And then you get to grow up and you start to find that in life there are a lot of different situations that they're not fun, but they are useful. While I don't like what happened, I appreciate it because it then creates a different hardened sense of me, a way I can show up in the world differently. And then if I can use that for good, I could be really, really good.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know that you're an author and all that stuff, but what is, because you have a core principle called and you have your book Identity Shift. So what are the core principles there that really your philosophy when it comes to that sort of thing?
Oh man, well I guess the core principle is essentially you have to find a way to go through a process that allows you to realize that anything you want, let's say the goals you have, they operate at a level above where you're at now. I believe you cannot have a dream that supersedes your current identity. So there's going to be things that are part of that experience of life that you want. Maybe it's you want to have more money. Great. Well, if you want to have more money, you might have to work more, have a different job that takes more education, more patience, more leadership, more responsibility, right? There's a certain person that holds and handles that can do it well. And if it's not your current identity to do that, to battle that, to handle those things, and you don't get that dream. It's not a matter of whether or not it's your heart. I'm giving all that I can. That's cool. Maybe your hardest isn't good enough to have the thing that you desire most. It doesn't mean you can't get strong enough, but that's the core principles. You cannot have a dream above your current identity. But then you can make an identity shift, which means over time you can shift to becoming somebody that's better than who you are now. I didn't say more lovable. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. But if you have a dream, well, it's because you don't have right now. The reason you don't have right now is because there's some version of you haven't created yet that gets to have that. And so when I say better, I literally mean better. Like you might need to be a better reader. You need to be a better communicator. You might have to handle problems better. You might have to be stronger physically, mentally, right? There's going to be things you must be better at to have that thing. And so for me, I go, you have to make an identity shift, and you can. It's a big piece of it. You can. And then over time, the goal is to go, while I'm doing all of this stuff, while I'm achieving goals, do I like who I'm becoming? Because a lot of us can say, I want this dream, I want this goal. Okay, I got to be better. I'm going to start making the shift. Great. Do you want to be that person? Right? Because some people never question that. They never question that the person who has this thing may not be a person they want to be. And they get to the back end of their life and they start realizing, like, man, I'm not a big fan of the person I am or what's going on here. And so they start making adjustments or shifts. And it's the right ones later on, but sometimes they get bypassed and save a lot more time if they were to simply step in and go, let me determine if this is a person I want to be. And look at someone doing that, or determine if this person's living a life in congruence with how they see themselves. And if so, lean in. If not, lean out.
Yeah. So if someone wanted to find that, are there key points that you would in finding who you want to be and really diving into that and figuring out if you found the right fit?
Yeah, man, there's a lot of different areas. I mean, and it's not a matter of you. So I think you don't have to be all of someone. You can have sections and segments of them. There's people that I respect and admire for their parenting, but hate how they run their business. Some people I might love how they run their business, but hate how they deal with people in their marriage, like how they talk to their wife or their husband. So there's different parts you pull from somebody. But I think there are some aspects where you should look at, and for me, there's like core. There's going to be beliefs, thoughts, and actions. Those are the big pieces of it. If you look at an identity, there are these kind of interwoven segments of what's all comprised. We'll call it the burrito of who you are. And inside that burrito, you might have beans, sour cream, cheese, right? But that's going to be your mindset. That's going to be your ego. It's going to be your habits. It's going to be your beliefs, your thoughts, and your actions. And so all these things operate under there. And so what you need to look at is, do the beliefs that I have align with the person living the life I want? Do the thoughts I have align with the person I want to be? Like, do I think the same way they think or like they think, in a sense of optimistically? And then are my actions in line? Are the things that I'm doing with my daily habits and actions, are those in line with the person living that life? And so if you can step back and take a look at yourself, and we'll call it maybe a true objective look, right? Just really looking at, how do I function? That'll give you an answer you may not like, because the answer might be, nah, I suck, right? And that's okay if it is. It just means now right? You got to work on things. But then you can step in and go, okay, great. My beliefs don't align. My thoughts don't align. My actions don't align. Where can I make some adjustments to make them align more, even though it's difficult?
Yeah, I've definitely seen that in finding the people that you really feel where things align, because I have a mentor by the name of Rodney Farrell. I feel like every episode I end up talking about him in some light.
Good. I like that. It means he's doing a good job. I appreciate that.
I work with him a lot, but basically I met him, and for the past 3-4 years, I've basically realized that there's like 95% of who he is who I want to be. He's in the field I want to go into, helping people the way I want to help them, with the right mindset and all of these things. And so what I've done is I've put my priorities into emulating that, spending as much time working with him as possible. And it completely has changed the way I approach business and everything, but just identifying that. But I also think there's a sense of knowing where if you just look inward, you can know whether you truly resonate well with someone or not. However, I do think some people want to almost, they want to put an illusion in front of them so that they feel like, oh yes, this person is perfect. They want to idolize someone, but you got to break that down in order to become who you want to become.
Yeah. 100%. That's actually 100%. You got to break it down, because if you don't, then you'll start doing things. But yeah, if you look at it from that perspective, then it's the segments, the pieces. And actually, a lot of the things we do in life are all a matter of small actions that are done in segments and pieces. So if you look at the segments, you can start seeing what is, we'll call it, easier to approach. Like, what is something I can do a little bit smoother, what's a little bit easier to tackle? Because most people look at an entire person and go, man, I'm not that person. And I go, yeah, you're not that person, but that person was built through stages, through steps. And if you can understand that, then you can approach it with a little less anxiety and fear around it being so hard, and actually lean in a positive way or a different way.
Yeah, and I think that also applies to business, where if you see that there are steps, and from those steps you identify systems to get there. Because in business, if you have a big goal but you haven't broken down the ways to get there, you're going to be completely lost. But if you break it down into a step-by-step, here are the things I need to do, or maybe it's not exactly, but you have a roadmap, you can achieve so much more.
Mm-hmm. You can. that has to be done. Because if not, you wake up and you're trying to stay. Because we all know discipline's a key. Discipline's a thing. But the problem is most people don't think about discipline, how it functions. And the thing is, discipline has to be following a plan. And if not, then you're just waking up hoping that that day you feel like doing it. And to be honest, most of us don't feel like doing things when we get up in the morning. So the goal is, can I get to the point of actually doing it because it's what's supposed to be done?
Yeah.
And that becomes the small, consistent things leaning in.
Yeah. I mean, consistency is everything. So
It
being
is.
able to be consistent, but consistency is also the hardest thing in the world to get because it is a constant, because life is constantly changing, constantly moving. So being able to build things out that are there no matter what life throws at you, that you can always fall back on, and that life cannot change, because life will try to change everything you do and throw roadblocks in front of you, but you've just got to get to the point where you can overcome them.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know if it always does. I mean, sometimes roadblock's an opportunity that you can't determine if I should take it or not. It's not always a roadblock. It's just a sticking point
Yeah.
or a trajectory change. But life it'll consistently throw you things you have to determine how to navigate. And the day never ends with something new not coming in. You know, there are very few days that I never have anything new come into my life or, different happen that wasn't expected. Now, sometimes they're crazy hard things. Sometimes it's something simple or it's an email. It's not always the end of the world, but there is something new. And the idea is for some people, the thing that's easy for me is really hard for them. Just repetition and approaching it. And then, yes, if you can understand and appreciate that, then life becomes vastly more livable.
Absolutely. And I know you have had plenty of setbacks come your way. And on that, I kind of want to dive into your up and down football career, and how you made the transition from football into coaching and mentoring people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, football's a interesting monster because, I mean, football's a thing that can teach you so much, but it's also incredibly hard to do. There's so many things that you learn in the game. And to be honest, like the transition after the game is not easy. It's very hard because when you're doing something for a long period of time, it becomes a part of who you are. It becomes a part of your identity. And then when you finally can't do that thing anymore, you then have to battle and reconcile with who are you without it. And most people, there isn't an answer because you haven't spent time building anything else. And that's all you do is measure your values of the world with that thing. And then when that thing is gone, you go, I'm not valuable. And the reality is you've always been valuable, and we know that, but it doesn't feel like it. And then on top of that, you might go like, well, if I can't do that, how can I even do anything? I've always just spent my time doing this one thing. And I don't think that the value of any sport, the value of any game, in my opinion, is tied primarily to the game and you're being good. And I think it's tied to the value you get from being successful at it. Like in a sense of the intangibles, the mentality, the skill set, those kind of things.
So basically, it's less about the destination and more about the journey.
Vastly.
Yeah. I
Well, not that it's about the destination only. The journey, the journey is a big piece of it. It's probably, in my opinion, the most important part. But yeah, no, it's different. I guess it's different ways of looking at it. But it is. It's about the things you learn on the journey. The journey
yeah.
is the thing you have to fall in love with, but it's about what you learn on the journey.
Well, yeah. I mean, the destination is always going to be important, but I think that you're not going to learn the lessons at the destination. You're going to learn the lessons through the journey. And
Yeah.
so you're also never going to, like you said, you're never going to reach the destination if you don't learn to love the journey. So
You never will.
it's quite an interesting dilemma, because it applies to anything you do in life. It's not a one thing. It's not only football. It's not only entrepreneurship. It's all of it.
It is complete. Yeah, it's all of it. A life is all encompassing, man. There's not little segments you get to choose from. It's all of it combined. And
Yeah.
if you look at it that way, it becomes something where you actually can have you can have joy in a whole entire life. You look at maybe in some areas I'm not that great this week or this month, but then I'm still pretty good over here. And then you try to find that way to create harmony and not fall off everywhere. But yeah, you get to put all the pieces together. And life is a collection of multiple little things.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know what my mind just short circuits on me, but
Right.
my question is what advice would you give a young person who is just starting their personal development journey and looking to, find success in their life?
I think you got to get around people who exude joy and they have optimistic perspectives who dream. I think dreamers is a big thing when you're young, because I can tell you get around professionals and do, but you can't do it. You're a kid. It's like it's weird. If you're like hanging out with grown men doing different stuff, but at the same time, this is a good way to do it, right? I think even you could have friends that are in your same level, but if you guys have similar aspirations, I don't think you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. I think you're the average of the expectations of those 5. So if you have 5 people that have expectations of like, hey, we're going to find a way this year to volunteer time to help, the nearby, I don't know, elderly home. Cool. Let's all go do that. Like I have expectations of you showing up, you being there, you serving people, whatever it might be. Or maybe it's going to be to raise money for something over here. Maybe it's just going to be to expectations to get stronger bodies. We're all going to go to the gym and work out, right? There's got to be people that have a bigger dream than the norm or the average. And most of the time, those people are not going to be easy to be found because they don't want to share the dream. And they're going to have the rest of the majority ostracizing them, especially in school systems and situations. So you have to be able to find people that you can get around that make you think bigger and that are okay with you being a bigger thinker, right? And then what you have to, in my opinion, you have to do is, like I said, to challenge yourself by doing things. You can't just say, this is how I think, but you have to actually put actions towards that. And it might mean creating a project together, doing something together, doing an action that makes you have to level up.
Yeah.
There's something that, like, we read books and we can shortcut it. I'm all for books. No, I'm not going to say it's not one of the ways. If you're like thinking the simplest, shortest path to it until you get older and like you can really understand all the information in books, I think you can read some books and they're great. But then I realized that if I gave some of these books to my kids, they may not fully grasp it because they haven't lived enough life. That's not a problem, though, because I think life presents even the people who wrote the books with situations to learn the lessons that they wrote in the books.
Yeah.
So if you can subject yourself to a situation that's difficult, right? Maybe you start a small little business and try to find a way to make money. Well, you have to learn how to market now. You have to learn how to communicate. And those are very personal growing type things, right?
Yeah.
It forces you into situations. If you have a goal that's difficult and takes multiple facets of skill sets developed, you'll improve. You'll learn that I have to be patient. I have to communicate. I have to be able to take a no. I have to handle rejection, right? And you have to handle success. These little nuances, they come in. So if you want to like do personal development, it's, I think, about subjecting yourself to personally difficult situations and then enduring within them and learning to thrive within them, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen that in obviously my much shorter time on the planet than you, but working through and challenging yourself constantly is so utterly important. I would argue there's not much, if anything, more important than challenging yourself, because if you're not challenging yourself, you're not going anywhere. You're not truly doing anything. If you're just sitting back, relaxing, and nothing, that you have no challenges in your life, then you're not doing anything that is almost worth doing to a degree.
Yeah, really. I mean, and then you get to be the point of people that are much older and they're unhappy, and then they try to give every kid this thought of like, oh, the world sucks and it's all bad, and why even try, kid? And it's like, nah, it's not about that. It's you didn't try. In order for you to justify your lack of effort, you're telling everybody else they can't do it. And I think a lot of that we hear from people that is in that realm, it's more self-preservation of ego than it is the reality. If I say this and it's true, then I don't have to feel as bad. But if I see a kid do something better than me, I really got a reason to feel bad. So what's the solution? I can level up or tell the kid not to do it so the kid doesn't do it, and then I don't feel bad. And most people will lean into that side. Unfortunately, it's kind of like the Cain and Abel concept. Like if I remove the other part of it, I don't look as bad. Like, no, bro, you still look bad.
Yeah, you almost look worse. I mean, yeah. I think it's definitely interesting surrounding yourself and challenging yourself constantly, because it can be quite a grind, and and even when you're working on something, like anything you're doing, there's going to be challenges. But I think learning to work through the challenges is so valuable, but also so hard. Like, I mean, I get with all the things I'm working on, I get challenges every single day, whether it be from having to reshuffle podcast guests to,
I heard about that.
To some other things. But I've, especially with like the podcast, I've learned to love the journey of doing that kind of stuff. And so, like you said earlier, it's so utterly important to do that, because you're not going to accomplish anything. If you can't do the hard thing, if you can't learn to love doing the hard thing, you're never going to do the hard thing, and you're never going to get value from that.
Yeah, honestly, you never will. And that's the thing that most people don't grasp. And the value isn't always an immediate thing. Sometimes the value is having the information you need in a really tight moment when you need it, but you won't be able to extract it. It just won't be there and present for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's quite interesting. But okay, I'm curious. So let's move into this. What is Anthony, what projects and things is Anthony Trucks working on right now that he's excited about?
I'm excited about this dark work that I'm doing. It's a brand that I spent a lot of time developing slowly. It's a way to do things, in my opinion. So it's been a lot of time trying to navigate and figure out this whole world of all of it. Like how do I really bring things together in the proper manner to where I can launch an idea that's not just a random idea. I think that happens sometimes. People just have random ideas they put out. So what I chose to do is like really spend time developing this concept. And so in the process of developing this concept, I started to learn like there's ways to bring things out. So I'm excited about bringing it out. And all what it is, concept dark work, it's wrapped around this idea of the identity that you become later on is the work that you've done to get there, right? You can't become someone without having done something. And so I navigated that thought and go, well, what's the work you do to become? What does that look like? If I'm going to emerge into the light at some point and say I'm a better speaker, better coach, better mom, better dad, what does it look like to do the work? And that work you do is in the dark. It's not seen, it's not celebrated, it's not really fun. It's kind of unsexy most of the time. But it's that dark work that you do that allows you to shine in the light. And so I've kind of unpacked that to a scientific level, but also to a psychological level, and then just a normal level of just like humanity and realization. And so in that process, I learned that that's really the key, man. It's the work that you do in the dark so you will not lose in the light. And so that's what I'm excited to bring out through podcasts and coaching and a lot more fun stuff. But that's kind of, I got a t-shirt. Look at this little t-shirt I got on today. Dark work. Look at that.
Bro. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's a sick logo right there.
For that. And then also because I do this, a lot of people go, well, I want to have a career like that. It'd be awesome to go out to the world and speak. And I go, you're right. It would. And so what I choose to do is actually at the same exact time teach people how to run a business like this, how to live a life in the same manner that I do. So it's kind of fun to watch that all unfold, we'll call it. And so I've been teaching more of this exact kind of flow of how do you live a life like mine that is in fact a business where I speak. So I call it Speak to Freedom. So I teach people how to do that same thing also.
Interesting. Yeah. So if you were to give someone 3-4 key points on learning to do the speak for freedom, or is that what you said?
Speak to freedom. Yeah.
Speak to freedom. What would be those 3 key points?
Well, the one key point is you need to, as a person that wants to impact the world through speaking, you have to focus less on being great on stage and more at being great at getting on stage. Because most people think, if I'm just really, really good and I practice a lot, I'm gonna grow my brand. It's like, yeah, but you could be phenomenal at something, but if no one knows you exist, you don't get booked. Then your message doesn't go out there. You don't make any revenue, and then you're really good at something nobody knows about. But if you're good at getting on stage, then it doesn't mean you don't get good on stage. It means you have opportunities to improve your craft, to refine your process. And so you can really quickly get better on stage if you're on more stages. But most people don't focus on getting on more stages. And so the big thing I think that's what I focus on is that area. Other part of it is then, yes, you got to focus on how do I become great at my skill set on this stage. If I'm on here and I get the opportunity, how do I make sure I deliver something amazing to people while I'm here, while I'm talking to them? Because you take moments from someone's life, you got to give something good back. And the last part of it is really how do I turn this one stage into more stages or more anything, right? Could be more business, could be more whatever you choose it to be, but I got to find a way to say this stage I'm on turns into another stage, or it turns into not just another stage, but also another opportunity to coach or consult beyond a speaking platform.
Yeah. Yeah. So my next question would be how do you go about becoming great at getting on stages, and how do you get the word out there and get people to want to have you on their stage?
That's a whole other monster, man. We could do it. That's a deep call we could do, but I think at the end of the day, it boils down primarily to saying, hey, I'm going to find a way to have a unique topic and message. Maybe not a unique topic, but a unique message. Like your topic is the thing that people put you in a box for, right? Motivation, resiliency, productivity, whatever, right? The message is the thing that makes you stand out within that topic. So if my topic is productivity, I could say, hey, 4-hour work week, still productivity, but different message. 90-day year, still productivity, different message, right? So there's a guy that has a book that came out, Come Up for Air, right? And it's about working a whole lot to where you feel like you have to come up for air from your job. It's all productivity and efficiency, different message. most people, they go, well, what area are you talking? I'm a motivational speaker. What do you talk about? Well, when I was a kid, and it's like, that doesn't help me. So you had a crazy story, but I don't get what's unique about you. You just had a different story, right? I need to know what is of value from your story. So you really have to, as a speaker, go in and unpack what's that unique thing to you. What's the thing that when I hear it, I realize that no one else can touch that. No one else can compete with you because it's your unique thing. And if I see value in it, I'm paying you the big bucks. That's the separation between people that want to speak and speakers, I believe. And so there's that portion. And then I think beyond that, it's how do I create a forward-facing brand where people see me and go, this person's put together. Because some people have like an Instagram, they go, I talk, and they record a bunch of cool motivational videos. That's good. It's motivational videos, but then they're not organized and put together in a way that somebody comes across them and goes, this person's legit. Like this person, they do it for a living. They're dialed. And that's another piece that people miss. They just go, I'm a speaker. And they put videos out hoping someone's going to go to their inbox and go, hey, I see that it says speaker in your bio. Can I pay you $20,000 for a keynote? Like, that's not how it works. I don't care how good you are and what, post you post. There needs to be something that says, well, here's what my keynote is. Here's a description of it. Here are the takeaways. Here's what your audience can expect to get with me on stage. These things that really make it clear as to why you're different. When you do that, now you have something special too.
So yeah, becoming a brand, building out that brand that is you, so that whoever it be that wants to hire you knows who you are and why they should hire you versus some other guy who's in the same area, but you need to have your message. And yeah, I could. That's definitely an interesting thought, because I haven't dove into the whole motivational speaking and just speaker in general that much. I mean, I do plenty of public speaking. I just on Wednesday I gave a speech at the local youth center, which I'm very involved with, at a donor meeting for their expansion. Got 24 hours notice on that, so that's always fun. Had to write a speech in 24 hours.
Good luck with that, yeah.
It was actually quite fun, because I'd already written something for a similar event for them, so I just changed it up a bit and gave it a different flow because it was a different audience. But diving into that speaking role and is definitely something that I want to explore more, because it's quite a rabbit hole.
Oh, it can be. There's a lot that you can do in there if you do it right, but it's kind of fun to see what can be created there. By all means, like if you do it right, there's something special there. Yeah.
And it's also interesting because you look at the big successful names, and you can't really be successful without knowing how to speak well and being a coherent person that can convey a message. And I mean, like Gary Vee, just for example, pops into my head. He would not be successful if he didn't know how to speak. And he's got his own brand of speaking for sure, but when he speaks, people listen. I mean, I know I certainly listen. If Gary Vee's talking about something that's going to be big in social media, which is his space, I am fully engaged, fully listening to whatever he has to say, because he's also built out the credibility at this point. But he had to get on stage first to be able to build out the credibility.
Yes, he 100% did. Which is, I think that's the cool part about it, is you get to see someone in real time doing that. That's a good piece of it, that if you don't have that in place and you're just a guy up there. But it is cool. I mean, there's a lot of cool, amazing human beings in the world doing great stuff. And I think that's the awesome part, is like everybody has a unique message or unique concept or something different that really isn't, we'll call it competitive to other people. Like what Gary Vee's doing doesn't affect me, but yes. And I think that's the key thing people don't realize. You got to have a platform and an ability to market yourself and talk about what you do. And if you can't do it from a stage, you're going to fall short of actually having any area of being able to be impactful and change lives or to make a good living. Even if you are just a person that's, I don't know, you're a salesperson or you're a manager, you better know how to talk. If you don't know how to talk, you're struggling. You're going to be struggling for a long time to get your anything across, your ideas, your concepts, your messages, all that stuff across. And so it's a big necessary thing for people to be able to know how to communicate and talk.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think that when people think of a stage, they're all going to just jump to a physical stage. But the biggest stage in the world that you have the most potential to grow on is completely free for you to use. The internet, it might not be as powerful as being face to face with someone, but if you get on the virtual stage, it's it's free. And as long as you put in effort and really dial in who you are to that virtual stage, then you can convert that into physical stage and other people wanting to talk to you.
Yeah, 100%, man. That's seriously, it's a key part of it. And I think people, they think they have to be the only person on, like, you got to be on the stage, and there's something to be in person in front of people, but you don't get there unless someone thinks you can be there, right? No one's going to hire someone to be on a stage if they're not capable of doing well on that stage in the first place. So you do most definitely have to have something where people go, oh, this person's legit. And it is. There's something with being on a physical stage where someone looks and goes, that's a credible human. If they believe that person was good enough to be on stage, like, well, they must be. And so you can get on other great stages that'll progress you into that flow for sure.
Yeah, I've definitely, because I'm trying currently to build out my brand and build things out for me, and this podcast is a big part of that. And it really diving into the whole marketing side of things, but also just being so incredibly consistent, which is so difficult, especially when it's like me. Man. When it's like me, I'm like, okay, I'm a one-man show, editing, doing all of that, and especially with like putting out clips from podcast episodes because it's my number one source of content. Yeah. But doing that work, it is incredibly rewarding though when you finally start to get noticed and you start to impact people, and people will leave comments being like, "Great work, this is so inspiring" or whatever. Or when you just produce something that maybe it doesn't perform that well on social media, but you're just so ridiculously proud of what you produced. Because I had something that didn't perform too well on social media, but I perfected that to the most perfect degree, and it's just exciting when you feel completely psyched about the product you create.
I agree, man. I 100% agree. When you feel good about it, it's dope. it's. And the thing is, it's a journey. It's the dark work you do, right? That's the thing where you build it and you know that because you did something good, it's worthwhile to put in the world. Then you feel confident putting in the world, and it makes you even more confident when someone goes, "Oh, I love this thing you put into the world." So it's a journey, but it's necessary. And if you do it right, it's a beautiful thing to watch.
Absolutely, yeah. And even when it's your own stuff, it's just so But it's almost interesting because I noticed this with successful people. They would almost once you get to a certain point in your success. It's just as, if not a little more fulfilling, to help and watch someone else achieve the thing that you worked hard to achieve, because again, I think that something with humanity is that everyone always is going to have an inclination to help people, and you're always going to feel great when you're able to help someone get what they want.
Yeah, for sure, man. That thing is this thing I call it the marginal utility. The first time you get something, say you have 10 hamburgers, right? And I'm hungry. Well, I eat one hamburger. The marginal utility of the single hamburger is huge, right? It's going to be great for me. And then you have another hamburger, but the marginal utility of the second hamburger was a lot less than the first. But the third hamburger, I'm like, the fourth one has no use to me. There's no utility for this hamburger because I'm already full, but I have 7 more hamburgers of the 10 left. I already ate 3. What do I do? Because I still want to feel good. Well, I give them to someone who's hungry.
Yeah.
Right. So when you've had some success and you're doing well, it's like, great, it feels good. And after a while, like, you don't have a vast need and the same pull sometimes, but I still want to feel good. Well, it's great. If I want to feel good, I can give this to someone who needs it. And so there is a desire to have somebody else feel good for the thing you created for them and put in the world. Great.
Yeah, definitely. And it's especially like through Apogee, I get to talk to these successful people once a week. Crazy thing is this week we had someone, I think he was like 16 or 17 years old on as a guest mentor. Who's a CEO of a company and stuff, and like doing crazy things. But it's interesting to see how all these guys, you get these super successful guys where people are like, whoa, and that's what it is they're like, yeah, I if I can provide value to this group of young men, why wouldn't I? And I also see that with Rodney, who I work with so much and just all the time. And the interesting thing is his entire business is helping other people. His entire business is helping people with their businesses and business growth so that they can get the results they want. And so it's so cool to watch because you get to see him basically help people help people.
Yeah. Who is this? Oh, it's the guy you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
The person you know.
Yeah. Gotcha. He's in a lot of digital marketing, but a lot of his stuff is really focused on businesses creating systems that work, because systems are so important.
Yeah, it's a credible piece of it, man. Most people think they can just do it and fly by the seat of their pants, and it doesn't work that way. If you don't have a way of doing something you can teach somebody, you don't have a business. You're just in business, and you'll be in it as long as you can maintain, and you'll eventually not maintain.
Yeah, like for me this week, I didn't create a plan for my week at the beginning of the week. Didn't set the system, and then each day it was just like things came in, and I was overwhelmed, and it was like the efficiency increase when you have a system and you know what you're going to do and you have a plan to execute. That system at that point, when you have that plan, your productivity goes through the roof.
Mm-hmm. It does. Because a plan is based on something you don't need to get done. And then you're not showing up to the hour going, I wonder what I should do this hour. And so in that hour, you actually do something that's supposed to be done. And then now you make progress. But if not, you show up to that hour and go, I got 17 things I'm supposed to get done. Which one do I work on? I don't know. It's just frustrating. Let me see what's on Instagram. Look at this funny video. Hey, look at this one too. And then an hour goes by and you go, oh, damn, I got nothing done. As opposed to go, hey, this hour's here. For the first 30 minutes, I need to focus on writing this blog post. I'm turning everything off. I'm writing the blog post. You write the blog post. The blog post gets done. You go, okay, I feel good. Take a little breather. What's next? I'm supposed to be reading this book. Let me read this book. And so you're more productive because there's something to do in that time.
Absolutely. It's funny. The whole Instagram spiral, you described exactly what happened to me. It was like, I think it was Tuesday of this week, Tuesday or Wednesday. My mind is just spiraling out of control and doing that whole thing where it's like, oh, whoa. And it's like, there was too much to do without a plan to do it. So it just generally took down. I got nothing done. Like I got like 3 things done of the 10 things I wanted to do that day. And those 3 things should have taken an hour.
Yeah, they should have, but they go long. This morning happened to me. I was supposed to get up and work on some webinar stuff, and I got up, and I know it's an hour and a half in. I'm like, I didn't do anything, bro. Maybe because it was Friday. I don't know. I'm usually pretty dialed. I was like, what is going on? And I was like, all right, well, on to the next thing. So I'll do it this evening to catch up, but I'll be fine. But I did lose an hour and a half into the browser window of hell, just scrolling for no reason. It was crazy.
God, that sounds like the title of like some futuristic like horror movie, The Browser Window of Hell. But yeah. I mean, it's absolutely true. I mean, like if I would grab my phone, like while doing something, it's so easy to get lost because I mean, Instagram is the biggest, like, just spiraling down. I see something funny and then I watch something funny related to that, and then I send that to my best friend, and then he sends me a video, and then it's like next thing I know, it's been 2 hours, and now, especially in the evenings when I'm tired and like my a little bit of my discipline has wavered a tiny bit, in the evenings.
Yeah.
When I don't have the mental energy to fully push forward, but the evenings are usually when I just, where some of my projects just need that last thing to be done for the day. And then next thing I know, it's like 11 p.m. and I need to get to bed so that I can be efficient the next day. But it's trying to navigate that browser window of hell is something that I definitely struggle with. But
yeah, you're not alone, man. It's a thing. The good thing is we all have that going on, and not that it's a good thing we have it going on, but it's good because we're not alone in that. And the more we can navigate different things, and we do better when we can navigate things better. But it's all part of the journey of life, man. Because you'll get to the point of being aware of it, and you'll understand what it does. And if you're more alert, you'll do some things, adjust it, fix it, make it better.
Yeah, But yeah, I think that thing also happened because, again, I didn't have a plan for this weekend. It's a lot easier to get stuck in that spiral if you don't have a plan. Because when I have a plan, it's a lot easier to set things in place to make it so I can't do X, can't go down an Instagram rabbit hole. But like the hardest thing is when I have an hour put to scheduling podcast guests and I message a lot of them via Instagram. And it's so easy to like even get lost in their Instagram feeds, and then it's been an hour and I've just watched every reel they've ever posted and haven't even like reached out. But
yeah,
it can become an interesting issue, but it's a good one to have. It's a good thing to be in a world where we have so many tools at our fingertips that our issue is managing which ones we use at which time.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing is we have all these things we think will help us, and then we look at them, and then it just becomes more things to learn that we don't use, and I feel bad for not using it, but it could work, and you float around it. Sometimes it's being able to say, I don't need that thing. Sometimes that's part of the thing. Sometimes it's like I going through it and going, you know what, this tool looks good, but it's not going to fit in the workflow for me, so I'm just not going to use it. I'm not going to spend my mental energy thinking I should do it and then don't.
Yeah, my one favorite tool right now for anything I'm doing is incorporating something like ChatGPT in any regard, like for ideas for something, or if I need to write like a little blurb, I'll have it write it first, and then I'll rewrite it. But getting that first step in the process done to get your mental energy and mental flow going, having something that can help you with that is huge.
Yes, I would fully agree.
Yeah. So you said you've got a cutoff right around now.
Oh, damn, time flies. Yeah.
Yeah. I looked down and my recorder said 40 minutes. I'm like, oh yeah, we started at 2:20. But yeah. Yeah.
Time flies.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on here, man.
Hey man, no problem. Appreciate you having me. If I could do anything to help in the future, dude, by all means, feel free to reach out.
All right. Yeah. And if I can do anything for you, hit me up. I'm always happy to help. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, you take care, man. Everybody listening, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Appreciate the time that you spent with us, because I'm sure at some point in time you could be doing anything else, but you chose to be with us. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you guys at home for watching. I'm Parker Emerald. I've been talking to Mr. Anthony Trucks, and this has been The Conversation Station.